Hey, what's happening, guys? It's Tyler from Valve News Network, and today I'm going to be talking about the unreleased and unused beta content from Portal. While Portal was in development, it was essentially considered the throwaway title of the Orange Box, as Valve thought it would be completely overshadowed by Team Fortress 2 and Half-Life 2 Episode 2. Of course, the developers were completely wrong, and Portal became an enormous runaway success. Some stuff was, of course, intended for the game and never made it, and some stuff was changed over the course of the game's development period. So let's take a look at some of that stuff, starting with some concept art for GLaDOS. The first piece here is the earliest, and you can see that GLaDOS started out as some kind of eye with a large hoop and lasers. You can see at the bottom of the picture that the female character was indeed chosen at this time, and she is holding what looks to be a somewhat substantially smaller portal gun. The next piece of concept art shows something a little similar to what we got. A large cylindrical computer-esque looking thing hanging from the ceiling, and hanging from that is a large amount of wires and what appears to be the sensory input of GLaDOS. Now you can see what appear to be the early versions of the emotion cores, although they are all blue. Also, the design of GLaDOS sensory input itself looks a bit more like a woman, instead of the later design where it looks more like a computer. And the last piece of concept art shows pretty much what we got. The only difference is being some purple cabling coming down from the top of the computer and no upper area to be able to walk around. Now let's take a look at some early in-game prototype screenshots, starting with this one. This picture appears to be an early version of the rocket launcher shooting into a portal, which is then shooting into a large cluster of balls. This appears to be an early version of the part of the game in the escape where there would be many turrets coming out in a very large warehouse-looking area. Now exactly what's going on here, I have no idea, and the balls there, I am pretty much completely clueless on what those are supposed to be. Next is this picture, which appears to be an early version of part of the escape where two turrets would drop down on a large platform, and to be honest, the only real difference I see in this picture is the general lighting and the basic turret design. Next appears to be an unused gameplay concept involving lasers and some sort of light emitter. Notice how the textures look pretty similar to what was later used in Portal, and also notice that this area of the game looks completely different from anything that we later got in the game. Also notice how the observatories on the top of the map seem to have some kind of orange glow radiating from them, instead of the standard sterile white glow that you would see in the normal game. Lastly is this picture, and if you have any idea what's actually going on here, that would be great for me to be able to know, because I am completely clueless on what this could be. Looks cool, though. Next is what appears to be the earliest in-game screenshot I can find. It shows a very early version of level 13, and the biggest, most obvious difference is, of course, the portal gun design, which appears to be a more modified version of the gravity gun. Also notice how the colors of the portal gun are blue and purple. Within the map is a couple of other changes, like a completely different model cube. The exit sign along with the X's and check marks are completely different designed. The button seems to be completely white and not have a red texture on it at all. And also, the energy pellet receiver seems to also have a completely different design. Lastly is realize where the player is standing. In the normal game, the only way to be this high in the level on this side of the map is to be on the unstationary scaffold. As you can see, it's on the other side of the map with the cube. So, where is the player standing? This kind of makes me think that the map was designed in a completely different way, and it would just lead you to this part of the puzzle. Next is some concept art for the portal gun, which of course bridges the gap between the old gravity gun looking portal gun and the current portal gun we have now. Now we're going to take a look at all the pre-release pictures in chronological order of each level, starting with level 2. This picture shows a very early version on how portals look, and how the pedestal that the portal gun rests on looks much more blocky instead of the scientific looking one we have now. The pre-release pictures of Test Chamber 2 are also a great example on how the portals look changed over the game's development period. In this picture of Test Chamber 3, the only real differences you can see are the portal spawner's general design and also the camera. In this picture of Test Chamber 5, the door's textured is unfinished and uncolored. The wires connecting the buttons to the doors look more like wires instead of the dotted lines we know today, and the buttons seem to have a completely different texture color to them as compared to what they look like now. Here in Test Chamber 6, the energy pellet emitter seems to be completely untextured, and the Emancipation Girl seems to have a completely different design than it does now. Here's a picture of Test Chamber 8, and one of the differences I'd like to point out is inside the observatory, there seems to be CRT televisions instead of the flat-screen computer monitors that we're used to seeing today. And in this picture of Test Chamber 9 shows an untextured version of the vital apparatus vent. In this picture of Test Chamber 13, a turret is seen behind the exit door in an otherwise empty room. Next, let's take a look at the first teaser trailer released for Portal, and the only real differences I haven't talked about yet is these crushers you can see here, and the noises that the turrets make. Next thing to talk about is the 3 different GLaDOS battle iterations that were done before it was finally chosen on the final battle. Attempt 1 used lasers, Attempt 2 was a very high-intensity battle, and Attempt 3 was a GLaDOS chase scene. Last thing to talk about are the files that were left in the game but were never used, including this file that lets you use red portals, this texture for a caution sign that is a movie reference to 300, and this texture which is actually the texture of the early version of the portal gun I talked about earlier. Anyways, that was all your unused and unreleased content from the first Portal. If you like this video, click the subscribe button, comment, like, favorite, do all that stuff. I'm Tyler McVicker. This is Valve News Network. Adios.